first of all, welcome to E-Town and congratulations on winning your big prize. The power plant in question is down in Denver. Is it the Zuni power plant? Is that what it's called?
That's correct.
It is, yeah.
And tell us about that plant. What's the story with that thing? Was it an old coal-fired power plant?
Yeah, it's an old coal-fired power plant. It was right downtown in Denver. Mostly when it was in operation, it employed the community surrounding the plant. And then it was decommissioned about 15 years ago-ish. That might be wrong, but somewhere around there. And it's just been sitting there, not doing anything, not generating power, and just generally the community has been trying to figure out what to do with that space.
So the community there was employed by the power plant, and then when the power plant shut down, they lost their jobs. And they probably, their lives were probably much healthier, but they also didn't have any gigs, so they needed to, something had to give, something had to change. And it's now owned by Xcel, right?
Correct.
And so you got this competition, and what were the criteria for winning? You had to like figure out what to do with this giant old coal-fired power plant that's filled with, toxic dust and other things, and the ground is probably terrible, and the water probably sucks, and this is your challenge, right? So what'd you do?
Yeah, well, the prompt for the competition was an energy development project that had community benefits built in.
Okay.
And I think the genesis of that is companies like AES, who sponsored the competition, are seeing a lot of pushback to renewable development. And there's new incentives coming down the pipe because of legislation that's recently been passed, the IRA, Inflation Reduction Act, that really makes building in community benefits to these types of projects lucrative now.
Oh, that's cool. So the competition included some things that would be good for the community, build community while repurposing this building.
Exactly.
And was it and what you said, they got pushback for building green energy plants. What does that mean? Big solar arrays were not popular, or what was the deal?
Yeah, there's just a lot of areas around the country where people don't want to see these projects being developed, whether that's solar panels on ag land or offshore wind turbines, for a variety of reasons. And a lot of it has to do with, I think there are many different ways to look at it, but a lot of people just don't know what they don't know. And so things that they're not used to are confusing and not necessarily welcome by the community. And so that's kind of why we picked this plant, because it's already there and it's already embedded in the community. And so much of the history of this area has to do with this coal history. And part of, for us, the transition is to uphold the history and the legacy that our energy communities have produced for us as a country and make sure that we're moving in the right direction. And so that sort of inspired us to try and take this already existing piece of history and turn it into something that can really help in the future.
Yeah. So what little I poked around and saw was that there's one component is that you're going to take the giant building that used to be the energy power plant and turn it into like a community hub food court, right? So that food booths and things, people can go there, and because probably a lot of these neighborhoods were in some ways food deserts, right? There weren't a lot of restaurants or grocery stores. So having a food court in the middle of it would be cool, right? That was one of the things you came up with?
Yeah, we moved, and you should definitely talk about all the technology, because Tom's really good at talking
Don't
about
talk about all the technology, because we don't have time.
Talk about it step by step.
Just a little bit of technology.
Just to be clear, we did move our community center outside of the plant.
Okay.
We would propose a different building for that, just because the building itself is not safe, for people to just spend time in, and it would cost so much money to remediate it.
Yeah.
So instead of using that building for a food court, we don't need to get into all this technology, but we did use it as an energy system that would allow for renewable penetration into that part of the grid.
Yeah, and as I understand it, there's some part of the renewable energy component involves heating up sand with sun power.
Yes. So I was up late at night, and as one does, I was researching long-duration energy storage because I couldn't fall asleep. And
as one might, as one might.
I found this really interesting case study from Finland, a company called Polar Night, and they're basically building concrete silos and filling it with sand and an electric resistance heating coil. and then using renewable energy that otherwise would have been curtailed or not used on the grid, like let's say wind power at night, to heat that sand up and then provide heat for the community. It's really cool.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild. It's pretty basic. I mean, you know, as technology goes, that's pretty basic.
Really
Use-
low tech, yeah.
Heat up sand, sand gets warm, use warm sand.
Yeah, basically, that's it.
That's cool. I like it. Well, I mean, you know, the thing is, some of these solutions are absolutely just based on common sense. It's like and solar energy being the most obvious of those. But you clearly put a lot of thought into this. You submitted your application. You competed against 46 other teams from prestigious universities, and you guys won. And you came up with a name for yourselves, and you got not very much money. You got like 10 grand that you had to share with your team. So did you buy new computers? What can you do with like $1,000 or whatever you got? $2,000. What did
I
you?
repaired my transmission.
There you go. Yeah,
I just put it straight to my student loans.
student loans.
So-
Yeah, so smart.
Really.
Very smart. Well, I just think it's exciting that that you're being trained, because obviously what's going to happen is this will be a nice gold star on your academic record, and it will help you get jobs. And you're aiming in this direction of sustainability and renewable energy and technology, and finding this intersection, which is so critical and so important. So, and I know that the project, the Zuni power plant transformation, is theoretical. It's not necessarily going to happen, right?
That's right. We kind of got to dream in the sandbox of this competition, but we do think that some of the solutions we developed are replicable in
Yeah.
other areas of the country.
Is it possible that it'll happen at this location?
There's some momentum behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
if
more
anyone-
tuned into the, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say there's definitely a lot of conversation happening now in Denver about what to do with that space. So we're just happy to put our solution down in the mix.
Yeah.
And if anyone from Excel wants more details, we can provide that
Yeah.
at any time.
Let me also ask you about one really important thing, which is, as I understand it, and I could be wrong, you started this process of discovery and sort of reforming what this place could be by engaging with the community and asking questions. Is that right?
The way we started the project was just reading all of the accounts of what community members have said about
Yeah.
that spot
Yeah.
before we actually talked to anyone. We just read and listened to what everyone has said.
Yeah. And so,
We'd all got to visit as well for
Went down
for
there
a
and
prior
visited.
class.
yeah. I think in general, when there's projects like this, repurposing old power plants or urban redevelopment or renewable energy plants going in sensitive areas, it just is so much better when you start on the ground level and talk to the folks there and work in concert with the communities as you transform these situations. So I applaud your efforts to do that. That's cool. And you think your technology and your innovations are replicable? Other people would use them if they find out about your prize and your work.
We certainly hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when are you going to graduate, you two?
We both graduate in May.
In
Terrifying.
May.
Yeah,
All right.
on the job hunt.
Okay, so, and if people want to offer these young people jobs, you can do that through etown.org. You can just write to us. We'll make the connection. They seem like very nice people. So I would recommend that. Meanwhile, congratulations to you and your team. Thanks for joining us here on eTown. And good to have you with us.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.
Thank you.
Emily and Tom from Green Grad Buffs from CU, the winning members of the design competition.